How do you feel to have a tribute here in Karlovy Vary?
It's a little frightening. I've never had a tribute, not even in my own house. But it's an honor. I don't know how they found me, but I'm glad they did. And for me, it's wonderful. The city is great. But I get to see these films that I haven't seen for 20, 30 years. So it's exciting. And the audiences are very good, yeah.
I've heard that you have just one copy of every your movie. Am I right?
When they asked to show these films, I said, "Are you sure you want to show those films? Because I don't think there are any prints around." They said, "No, we can find them. We'll find them." And about 2 weeks later, they called back and said, "There aren't any prints anywhere in the whole world." I said, "I told you." But I used to take one copy of every film. And I think they're all from my little vault, that the producer has. And because they couldn't find any, and they had to use ours, I think they're the only prints available in the whole world. It's a little sad, but true. And some of the films aren't on DVD at all, so the first film we showed here, Remember My Name, it's the only way you could see that film is if you were in that theater.
How does it happen that they are lost?
No one finds them. Well, these little movies, I mean, when some of these films were made, it was a very different atmosphere in America film. There were no small films being made then. They were either studio films or television. That was basically it. And to try and make something which they now call independent films, but then it was really independent. There was just me and maybe some other guy somewhere else whom I never met, but you'd make a film and nobody knew what to do with it. The first two films I made, both times the distributor said, "We don't know what to do with this. We can't sell it. We don't want to release it." And they said, "You guys can have it back. Do what you want with it." So we had to release it ourselves. And this was, in the late 70s. And in America, there was no art houses, as they called them. If there were art houses, they played foreign films, but not American films. So they were kind of between worlds, They're too funny to be dramas and too serious to be comedies. So they, and they're not any kind of film. They're not an action film or necessarily a love story or whatever. They're what they are. And so they couldn't they couldn't reduce it to one sentence, And I can't either. People, I've often said this. People say, "How are you?" And I say, "Well, that's the second most difficult question to answer." And they say, "What's the first most difficult?" And I say, "What's your film about?"
So you have done several interesting movies, but you haven't had luck with some of them, like you said right now. Don't you feel bitter because of that?
No, and luck is a funny thing. I think you make your own luck, No, it's a privilege to make films. People tell you how hard it is. Yes, it's long hours. Getting money, financing, that's hard. And I that's why I haven't made a film in a while. I just can't do that anymore. But making films to me was... they're chapters in my life. I worked with a great British actor named Albert Finney, one of the great actors in the whole world. And we were talking one day, and I said, when people ask me, what were you doing in such a year, what were you doing in 1997 or something, I said, I always have to think what film I was working on to place that year. And he said, well, that's the way he feels, that these films, some work, some don't work, but it's the experience of making them that's important. And what they do is they make up your whole life. I mean, you cannot be, at least I couldn't be, a part-time filmmaker. I don't know how to make films for mass audiences. I seem to make films for the individuals in the audience, and sometimes they connect with people. You know, people say, "Oh, I really was moved," or I learned about myself through your film," and that's the best compliment in the world. I think in America, anyway, probably everywhere, but certainly in America, where opportunity is everywhere, probably the most important decision anyone can make in their life is how important money is to you. What will money do to you? What will you do for money? And for whatever reason, money was never that important to me.
What is the most important condition in the filming from your point of view?
Condition. Camaraderie. Family. I learned from Altman, who I work with many years, to invite everyone to dailies. Dailies are the film that you shot the day before. Invite everyone. Crew, cast. We all drink wine and watch the movie. Dailies, which are uncut, are the best film you've ever made. It's the best a film can ever be. The most important element in filmmaking, to me, more important than the script, are the actors. The actors are everything. Actors are the only real artists in the whole film process. That's why we put a frame around their face. They're works of art. They live. Their life is their art. And I feel the director's, from my point of view, the director's job is to inspire and protect the actor. And if an actor wants to experiment, I'm all for that. And if we want to change the script, I encourage that. And because my films aren't big canvases and big stories, and they're about the people. I mean, to me, there is no better landscape than this. This is the most interesting thing in mankind. And it's the closest we come to nature, true nature.